me and my sidekick. I am coming in with something I've been sitting on for too long. As usual, I'm learning everything takes longer than I anticipate. And I have been wanting to, for about 2 years, actually February 2020, before everything got flipped upside down and inside out, when I was doing a training on death, I really felt inspired and ignited and enlivened by death and how it could be shared and contemplated in really embodied experiences. Like, we did some cool shit. And then last year I did some further training with the wonderful Zenith Virago, and I was like, okay, I want to do death over dinners, or I want to do something where I can bring people together and talk to them about death and have conversations around death. And nothing has been happening. I haven't had the impetus to respond until maybe 2 weeks ago. I found out someone that I had done the training in 2020 with had died. And Mathilde, or it gives me the shivers, was one of the most vibrant, alive, enthusiastic beams of light. She was so fucking powerful. She was a real force. This French woman that was almost like an avatar. She's just sensational. She really captivated me with her essence. And when I found out about 2 weeks ago that Mathilde had died, it really rocked me. It was 10 months from diagnosis to death, and last week Mathilde would have been 32. So that's really, really guiding me out of my own way to not wait to share some really necessary conversations and contemplations around death now, and not just with those at the end of life, with those that are alive and well, because we never know when our time will come. We will never know. No one knows. This is the great mystery. But not all of it has to be mysterious, and having too much mystery can actually be really painful. You know, when there is heightened emotions and charge, if someone has been given a diagnosis or something sudden has happened, it's not the time to really think about who will I have look after my dog, and how do I want to be celebrated, how do I want to be honoured, who do I want to be there, who don't I want near me. So what I have done in consultation with Zenith and my meditation teacher Andreas is I've crafted a little death connection session. So I'll be using some of Zenith's intellectual property. I will be using, which is a really fucking cool document, by the way, sounds really naff, but a fairly fun document, fairly light. It's not a legal will. It is a lovingly prepared and living exploration of your wishes. And it's done really beautifully. Not easy to tackle. That's why I'm thinking to do it in a one-on-one session is the best way to actually get it done. And then also including some meditative experiences around death, so we can dissolve and diffuse some of the fear around death. If you've ever done yoga, every time we lay down in Shavasana, we have that final exhale. It's like we're preparing for death. So instead of this being a really dry process of like documentation and stuff we just pop away, never to be looked at again, I'm actually going to be guiding people through some embodiment practices, some boring stuff, we'll have a little paperwork party, but then a real chunk of restoration and integration. So these will be in-person only sessions. They will be $150, flexible if you are unwaged or affected by the mandates. They'll be approximately 2 hours, and it will change your life. Like, talking about death won't kill you, but it will change your life, looking at how and where and what is important to you. I must mention there is some pre-work required, because a lot of this is values-based, and it's really hard to get clear on your values when you're sitting in a session and maybe the clock's ticking. And so there'll be pre-work around values, and why values is so important. I'll just give you an example. I personally value my freedom. I value being in the nature. I value intimate connections. So if it was to follow the normal path, I die, my body gets taken, the funeral director steps in and they're like, cha-cha-ching, I'll take care of this. The last person that will touch my body is likely to be a stranger preparing my body, so not so intimate. I will then be probably popped in a coffin, potentially wrapped in with a plastic lining, a coffin coated in toxic paint, and then I'll be kept contained. That's not so good for the environment. That's not so good for my sense of freedom. Then maybe every Tom, Dick and Harry could come and say there were things that I would really prefer they say while I'm still alive. And none of that really is what I want, truly. But it's often what will happen. There is a process. It's almost like tow truck drivers when there's an accident, when someone dies, all these things start to happen unless you know otherwise, unless you know your options, unless you know the opportunities. And I personally want to have potentially a living wake, where if I know I'm dying, to bring people together. Maybe we have a clothes swap and a potluck, things I love doing now. They're part of my life. They enrich my life now. Not a big thing. I don't know if I'll still have social anxiety when I die, but I have social anxiety now, so it doesn't appeal to me to have a big thingo, majigo. But if I hadn't told my loved ones what my values are, which I have loud and clear, things might happen that they think is for the best, but they're not at all what I want. And if I never get quiet, contemplate what I want, not what I think would be convenient for others, because that often happens, right? You talk to someone about death and they're like, I don't care, do what you want, I'll be dead. When a loved one is caring for a loved one, or there's been a death, that's really stressful to make decisions on someone else's behalf. So to have a few things thought through, it's not concrete, you can change your mind, but thought through, communicated, and then revisited every now and then. You might, I don't know if you have a retirement plan, but people plan births, they plan retirements, they plan moving homes. There's a huge gap that we don't plan, the one thing that we are all absolutely, without a doubt, going to experience. So this is not something for a last minute, I forgot to get my Mother's Day present gift. This is something that if you feel like, I don't know about this, but I'm still curious, there's a part of me that's leaning towards it, get in touch. Don't spring this on someone else, not before you've done it yourself. That is important. And get in touch. As I said, they'll be in person. I live in the Swan Valley. It is delicious, it is delightful. You will be taken care of in this process. I don't have all the answers, but I have a lot of curiosity to find what is possible, because really in this day and age, lots of new things are possible for what happens to us in the lead up to death, in the dying process, and also once we are dead. Thank you for hearing me. That was a long time coming, and I'm really grateful for all the guidance, of things happening to people that I care about that have driven me to this point. I wouldn't be following this path otherwise, and it's also a path you can't ignore if you're getting nudged to go and talk and do death different. So thank you. If you have any questions, if you want to have a phone chat before jumping in to see if we actually want to work together, if you want to know a little bit more about how the process will look, it will be different for everyone. Sing out. Have a glorious day. Bye.